have a question for you. Have you ever felt that there's a part of you that's hiding in shadows? It's just waiting to break free or be revealed. A part of you that's deep down stuck in this old pattern that needs to be broken free, but you're not sure exactly how to break free or shine that light there. Well, on February 12th, 2025, we have a full moon. It's in Leo. That's what a full moon does. It illuminates, it brings a light to a certain area of our lives. Now, this full moon is going to be casting a brilliant light in those places, in those very shadowy places where things can lurk beneath the surface. This full moon also has a thing called a T-square. A T-square is where two different things, the sun and the moon, are going to get squared up by Uranus. Uranus in Taurus. What does that mean? It means that there's some friction here. It's not going to be an easy revelation. It's not like, that thing in the shadow, no big deal. It's like, that thing in the shadow, it's time for you to come out into the light and move on from it. We have concurrently a Mars and Saturn trine. Mars in Cancer, trine Saturn in Pisces. What's so great about that? Well, it's going to bring an emotional stability. Mars and Saturn get a bad rap because they're the malefics, right? They bring challenges, etc. And they're also in these emotional areas of the water signs. Yes, that's true. Also true that we get courage from Mars. We get discipline from Saturn. The friction of a square is what makes things move. Sometimes we have to have those things in our lives to make us do things, to make us go somewhere. So this is bringing a grounding influence, this nice trine, and it helps us have an emotional strength to deal with the things that may be surprising or shocking or being revealed to us that are uncomfortable. To make sense of all this, we're going to look at one of the most insightful allegories in philosophy. It's Plato's allegory of the cave. Now, Plato's story, it was first introduced in the Republic, and it's a vivid image of breaking free to discover a deeper, more true version of our reality. If you haven't heard the story, here's what it is in a nutshell. Plato is talking about these prisoners, and they've been chained in a dark cave their entire lives. The only thing they can see are shadows on the wall projected from some guards that there's a wall behind them, and so there's a fire, and they can project things like horse, dog, whatever. So these prisoners, they don't know that this isn't reality. They've only seen these shadows. They cannot move their necks. They're chained. Now, these prisoners think that's reality because that's all they've ever known. Now, one day, one guy, somehow, I don't remember how, but he breaks free and he's able to get out of his chains, past the guards, and out of the cave. And once he gets out of the cave, he sees reality for the first time. Now, of course, his eyes are blinded. He's never seen the sun, never been out of the dark, and has to adjust. He has to realize his mind has been blown, right? That's not all there is, these dumb shadows on the wall, that this is much more complex. There's more than he could have ever imagined. And it's because this courage that he had, Leo is courageous, this bravery, right? To go out of the darkness into the light. Now, the prisoner does not understand everything at first, obviously. I mean, it's like, what the hell is this? I've been in a cave all my life. But gradually starts to see the world in a new way and is no longer beheld by the shadows in the wall. That's not reality for him anymore. And in that moment, self-realization occurs. And of course, everybody, when he goes back, he tries to free them and they all think he's nutso. And so there's a whole nother part to the story there. But he is free. He's living his authentic experience. Now, the full moon is going to illuminate these shadows that we've been potentially hiding from or just accepting. Leo's boldness, its creativity, its self-expression. So wherever that falls in your whole sign chart, that's kind of where you're asked to be a leader, to be brave, to be courageous, to shine your light with love and magnanimity. How do you say that? Magnanimity, is that a word? Anyway, magnanimous is what I'm trying to say. So with this curtain drawn back by Uranus, it's not going to necessarily be easy, right? Going out of the cave was not easy, but it was it's more vibrant, it's more real, it's alive. And we may be astonished by what we see or what we're told or what happens during this time, but it's a point where we can embrace truth or a disturbance in a way because we have that strength from the Mars and Saturn trine. So speaking of Uranus since 2018 has been in Taurus, and it's been pushing us to rethink our our concept of security, our concept of self-worth, and it's all in relation to material possessions, our values, what makes us feel comfortable and safe. Well, Uranus there is like, I don't care about that. I don't really care about that. If it's not authentic, it's not real, you might need to be shaken up. This thing might not be good for you anymore. And that can lead to some discomfort, but really redefining how we see ourselves, what we value. So I was thinking about shadows and the cave and the allegory. And one of the most like iconic characters in the shadow is 1922 German silent film, Nosferatu, Count Orloff, like his little fingers. It's a really weird, eerie version of Dracula. They did just remake it, but dude, I'm thinking this dude was creepy for over 100 years. He did not need a remake for a long ass time. So we're going to stick with him. It's almost comedic, but it's also very freaky. Now, the filmmakers didn't have the rights to the novel, so they had to change the name. It was Dracula, basically, and they didn't have the rights to it. So they had to tweak the plot, change the names, and the original story was, adjusted a little bit, had a unique twist. That's very Uranian as well. So Nosferatu is grotesque, and he's scary and he's freaky, mostly because he's in the shadows. But at some point, Count Orlok has the light shining on him. And in that moment, in that harsh light, it's disturbing to see him, no doubt about it. But once it's been established what that creepy thing is, then you have the full picture and you can assimilate it and you can make your own decisions once you know the truth of what that thing is. Is it really a creepy dude, or is it an actor? Is it Dracula's knockoff cousin? Maybe he's not so bad. A little more on Mars in Cancer and Saturn in Pisces, just really quickly, that Mars in Cancer is connecting us to an emotional core that's been driving us backwards, right? Mars has been going backwards. It's going to be moving forward soon. And this is kind of that tail end of processing it before it moves forward. Now, bringing in authenticity of our emotional state, looking deeply with courage into our emotions. And Saturn in Pisces is going to give us the structure, the discipline, the spiritual depth to move on once we realize we have these revelations. And together, there's more stability there for practical steps to move forward into our new understanding, our Nosferatu new understanding. Okay, I'll stop with Nosferatu. Putting all these things together, the cave allegory, Nosferatu, the shining the light, the courage, Mars in Cancer going backwards, full moon in Leo shining the light, T-square with Uranus, all this astrology. So what does it mean? It just means that this is a potent time to step out of the shadows, to put some light, Leo light, embrace that in ourselves. The Uranian and the Aquarian versions also bring up that authenticity and letting the light come through, the sunshine. And that may be overwhelming. The light may be too bright, but the grip of the power of the shadow starts to be let go when the light is shining. When the light is shining, it loses its influence. The fearfulness, when it's the darkness, like sometimes at night, everything, I don't know if you had that experience, but you just feel like everything's 100 times worse in the middle of the night, right? And it's just a terrible feeling sometimes. And then the next morning comes, the light is shining, and you're like, why did I feel like this was so awful, or this thing was going to be so bad? It's all right. It's kind of putting yourself into that embrace of the revelations of the morning, of the light. It might be blinding at first, but it's the path. It's the flashlight. The full moon is a flashlight to lead us in the darkness, clearing us for a more fulfilled and authentic individual life. Okay. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you have a beautiful full moon in Leo. Embrace it. Enjoy it. I like you just the way you are, and I'll talk to you soon.